in conservative countries like my beloved Taliban, how to control women's bodies. But wait a minute, in our societies, with another way, it's happening the same. How to control it so that we are not harassed all the time and so on and so on. I mean, this is almost literally true. Politics is politics of enjoyment, and I totally agree with you as a Lacanian. I think that's another question, that Lacan can be read also precisely as that. As, you know, for me, the happy, even enjoyment is that myth of a, sorry, I'm an incurable old romantic, of a revolutionary Bolshevik couple. Well, they don't care about sex, they all work for the revolution, and while they work for it, all of a sudden they hold their hands. For me, this gas-filled, I'm moralist here, becomes where you say, but let's forget about the cause, let's look into each other. True lovers do not look into each other's eyes. It's what Brecht called the Preis der Lob der dritten Sache. Okay, but to cut short, nonetheless, so I have just two explanatory questions to ask, two very precise ones, I hope so. First, I find it difficult, as the one following your work, am I translating it correctly in your, like, you know, Heidegger 1, Heidegger 2, Badiou 1, Badiou 2, that what you call now work, it's not simply situation covered by knowledge, but it's situation which includes at least the potentiality for the verité, for the truth events. That what you call names are not simply cognitive functions, but are names in the sense that you said potential truth names. So that would be just so that I know how to coordinate it, and just to not be afraid, shorter remarks. First, what you said about metaphysics, yes, I agree, because are we aware that at least from Kant onwards, to be anti-metaphysical is a definition of philosophy. Every philosophy, Kant, no longer metaphysics but conditions of possibility, Hegel, Fichte, Wissenschaft, no longer philosophy, Marx, philosophy versus true science is masturbation versus sexual act, literally in German ideology, Nietzsche, Heidegger. So I don't get it. I mean, who wants to be metaphysician today? Today, the definition of philosopher is to overcome metaphysics. And the very last thing, I deeply agree, and I don't take it as a joke. This has to be confronted precisely by psychoanalysts. When you pointed this, I'm going a little bit further than you, but would you agree with it? This is for me another reason to put aside enjoyment, and maybe later we can return to it. This, how should I call it, constitutive, repetitive stupidity of jouissance, which is why for me, to end with a joke, very short one, don't be afraid. The best metaphor for it is a wonderful American joke about an idiot from mid-America who is introduced to sexuality by a wise woman, but I think the idiot is right here, you know. The joke is the woman, it's first time sex for him. The woman first masturbates him a little bit, erection, then she told him, now you go into me, okay, I'm in, then now we do it. You go in, out, and then the guy explodes. Can't you finally make your mind? Is it in or out? He was right, I think. Thank you.
There is no proper discussion with all that. Just one point. I think the question of definition of the position of enjoyment in our absence of word. There is not exactly, I think, politics of enjoyment. Regulation of enjoyment, if you want, certainly, but finally regulation, not exactly enjoyment. So enjoyment is, in fact, an ideologic determination. And there is no real difference about this point between left and right and so on. Finally, there is a common point, really. There is a common point which is as is it possible, the real norm, finally, is the individual freedom and the enjoyment of this form. That is really the democratic constitution, an intimate constitution. That is, and in fact, this question is much more big than purely political determination, I think. It's an ideological determination, and it's why the consequence is the inexistence of the world. And sometimes politics is to find something like a new world. The first Bush was saying a new world. The second Bush too, finally. But it is much more hard, the young Bush, than the old Bush. But it's a phantasmagory of a new world. But the real of all that, around enjoyment, is the absence of the world. It's just on this point. And so the question is the relation of names, and in fact names are not only, it's not a question of knowledge, really. It's not a question of pure nomination, it's really a question of a new creation. It is what there is always something poetic in the creation of new names. New names, scientific new names are poetics, and political new names are poetic too, and so on, because it's creation of names in a new context. But creation of names, new names, is a question in relation to the absence of world, and so in relation to enjoyment. And the way for the philosophic creation is precisely to find something which is not under the law of the supremacy of enjoyment, and which is not at all, in fact, the return to asceticism. And it's all the difficulty. John,
I agree with a lot of the criticism you made of the present dominant representation of enjoyment, and also agree with your idea of the creation of new names. And just would remember a beautiful statement by Gilles Deleuze, terminology is the poetic moment in philosophy. Then there is another level. You said that in a way traditional philosophy left aside the problem of enjoyment, but then you choose as a paradigm of enjoyment a precise figure of it. For instance, sexual enjoyment or the representation of sexual enjoyment in our society today. But there are other images and concepts of enjoyment in the very philosophical tradition which are different from that, and that nevertheless they are central. We'll just quote 3 random examples which are, I suppose, also near to you. For instance, Gilles Deleuze's idea of the self-enjoyment being completely other thing to respect with the image of sexual enjoyment you described. Or this very beautiful passage in Aristotle when he has to treat the problem of friendship. And he says that in the very fact, in the very sensation of existing, there is a joy. Just when you feel that you exist, there is joy. But that joy is precisely always already shared. And this is friendship. And then a third example, also near to you, I don't know, Spinoza, without going to the theme of beatitude, but Spinoza's conception of the acquiescentia in se ipso, to be satisfied in yourself as being the contemplation, the happy contemplation of what you can do, of what you can